Today I'm going to be prepping a California jay, scrub jay. And this is a bird that we received from Lindsay Wildlife Hospital in 2019, so it already has an accession number. It was dead on arrival and apparently it was caught by a hawk. So all of that gets noted in the catalog, and so I record the location information, the date it was found, the date I prepped it, the species, the weight, so the circumstance, so salvage, it was caught by a hawk, received dead. It's going to be a skin, not a skeleton, so I note that. You want to make sure it's limber, make sure the legs are limber and the wings. And then I put a little piece of cotton inside the bill in case some bodily fluids come out, they don't get all over the feathers. Because it's going to be a study skin, we want to keep everything looking nice. We want the feathers to look all nice and fluffy, and so we use sawdust to help soak up any blood or other fluids. I mentioned this bird's got some blood here. Looks like there was a wound on its back. And one of the things that I always tell people when I'm teaching them how to prep is that it's kind of a mixture of science and art. So the science part of it is the skinning out the bird, taking the tissue, making sure you record all the data accurately, things like that. The art part of it is making it look like a nice specimen, putting it back together and stuffing it, and that does take some artistic talent. So I use a razor blade. I kind of part the feathers. So bird feathers grow in tracts. So you want to part the feathers, and then I make an incision on the side of the breastbone, all the way down to the cloaca. And I do it very gently because bird skin is very thin. So I don't want to cut into the body cavity. I just want to cut, and I use forceps to basically separate the skin from the body. And then once I've done that, I can push the knee of the leg through like that. And then I take some scissors and I cut through the knee like that. And I push the rest of the leg up through. Always keeping the feathers out of the way. And then I want to get rid of as much of the muscle mass as possible. Alright, so that's basically in your cleaned leg. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take some cotton and make up for that muscle mass to give the leg, and there's two reasons for that. One is to give the leg strength, and the other is to make it look more like the bird, the natural bird. So I just kind of roll some cotton around the bone, thicker at one end, and it kind of like replaces that muscle. And then I stick that right back through, and then I do the same thing on the other side. Then the next step is to separate the body from the tail. You want obviously the tail to stay with the skin. So you need to cut it away, and so I do that by exposing what's left of the leg, and I just kind of like use my fingers to kind of push the skin again around the base of the tail. Here's the cloaca right there, a little tuft, and then the cloaca is kind of hidden. So what you want to do is you want to make a thin cut through the skin right above the cloaca. So once I've done that, then I can kind of bend it back and make a second cut right like above the tailbone. So now I can start peeling the skin down the back. And I just kind of rotate the bird. So I'm doing it kind of evenly around all sides. So the next thing I'm going to do is I want to cut the wings away. So just cut at the base of the humerus as close as I can to the body. And on the other side. Okay, and then the next challenge is getting it over the head, getting the skin over the head. And basically what you want to do is you want to get it past the ears. So there's the skull. It's connected, the skin is connected to the ears. So now we're at the eyes. The next challenge is to cut the skin away without cutting the eyelid. So I take scissors and I cut kind of right above the eyelid. Once I've exposed the eye, then I can kind of clean it up a little bit later around the eyelid. With passerades, you can age them by the degree of skull ossification. So it's like human skulls where baby, juvenile birds have very thin skulls, and it's a thin single layer of bone. So this does look like an adult, and you can tell because when it's ossified, it has 2 layers of bone that are connected by little pillars, bony pillars, and you can see all these little white dots, and that's the ossification. We'll record not just that it's an adult, but that the skull is 100% ossified. So I just made a cut in the back of the skull to remove basically the body, and the tongue comes with it. And then we're going to remove the brains, which are pretty goopy. Sometimes it comes out intact, a lot of times it doesn't, especially if there's been trauma or if it's been frozen. And then I'm going to make a cut. So we need to clear out a path so that I can get new eyes in there, cotton eyes. And so so right now it's being blocked by the palate, so we need to cut that. So I basically remove the palate. So now I'm ready to turn it basically right side out. And so you basically do that like rolling a sock. You kind of put the skull through, get it to a certain point, and then find the bill on the other side. So just cut that. And then this is where the oil gland is. And so you can clean that out as well, kind of at the base here. So it's just basically you take water and cotton, and then you go with the feathers and you try to get as much of that blood off as you can. What we'll do is we're just going to go like this. Just let him absorb that for a little bit. So for the tissue, so I've got my tissue vial here. Every specimen gets a unique number in my catalog. So this is CC4429. All parts of the specimen get the same number. So the tissue vial gets the same number as the study skin, as any other parts that we say. And then we do barcode. So we take standard 4 tissue types all in one vial, heart, liver, muscle, kidney. I make an incision underneath the breastbone. Here's the heart, so I'm going to take the heart. Here's the liver. The next thing I want to do is sex it. So the gonads on birds are at the top of the kidney. This right here is the ovary. And most birds, passerines anyway, have just one active ovary. So I would describe this as ovary granular ova less than 1 millimeter. And then we'll take kidney. So the kidney is here. Okay, and then I'll take some muscle. So heart, and then liver, muscle. Okay, and then I'm gonna put the barcode. And I can write some other information. So for female, skull was 100% ossified. The other thing we record is fat, if there's any fat on the bird. In this case, there's no fat. So in order to put the eyes in, we want to kind of make a path through the neck. Then I'm going to take some cotton and basically I put the cotton between my forceps, put my fingers in place and roll it and make an eye. And you want a nice clean eye, not a bloody eye. So if I get a bloody eye, I start again. So the more you can do to kind of get it clean ahead of time, the better. Now I'm going to do the other eye. And here's where the art part comes in. Some people like make big buggy eyes. Some people make small eyes. And now we got both eyes in. I'm going to cut that little piece. Okay, and then the next step is to replace the brain with a cotton brain, and we use a stick to replace the backbone basically. And so I make a rough edge at one end, kind of moisten it, and then I basically do the same thing as I did with the eye. So instead of the forceps though, I put the stick there and then I roll. But I usually try to make it so that it's slightly wider than the base of the bill, because you want it to lodge between the two cotton eyes, so that the idea is that the head's not flopping around. You want to get it support. So it lodges between the two cotton eyes and kind of fills up that brain space. Then you want to cut the stick. You cut it basically right above the cloaca again. Okay. And then you take your two wing humeri that you cleaned and you pull them up into the body cavity. And kind of, if you can, put it up kind of in the neck alongside the stick. That's where the wings go naturally. And so once you get the cotton body in, it's harder to maneuver the wings. Got that. So now I'm going to make a body, and I'm going to start with a sheet of cotton like this and roll one end into a neck, like that. And the other end I'm going to make into like a little basin. So I have kind of the neck and a base of the body, and then I take another sheet of cotton and I wrap it around the neck, and then I wrap the base of the body around like that, and then I roll it. So it kind of ties the neck into the body. Okay, so that's the body. And I'm going to take my forceps and stick it through the neck, through the bill, like that. Get the stick back in its place, and then basically walk the skin around. And then the cotton legs that I made, I'm going to put those into the body as well. So that, again, gives the bird kind of some strength and also shapes it. So, and then we sew this guy up. Upper left, and then go across. And you want to try to get it, the stitch so it's at the edge of the skin but not in the feathers. When I pull the thread, it's pulling it down the center of the axis of the bird, not one side or the other, so it does it evenly. Then, once I kind of get it the shape I want, I can take the string and just kind of gently pull it. I tie that off by making a loop and taking the needle and going down to the cloaca, and I do that 2 or 3 times. Now that that's all done, so the next thing is to tie off the bill. And so you want to cut off the cotton, but leave a little bit inside the bill to help, and the bill will clamp down on the cotton, and that kind of keeps the neck in place. And we use super glue, so a little bit of super glue. And so put that in there, and then you want to tie the tag on. So here we have the tag, which I said has all the data on one side, and the other side has the University of California Museum of Vertebrate Zoology. And on that side, we will write the genus, species, subspecies when we catalog it, and the museum number when we catalog it. And then the last step is to wrap the bird. This bird will be dry, by the time I'm in here next week, it'll be ready to go into the case to be frozen to go upstairs. So There's a nice wrapper that I got out earlier. I gently wrap it, kind of like that, at a little bit of an angle. There's the bird. So we will go pin it. So I put a pin on both sides of the body, about here. Again, it's mostly just to kind of keep it from moving. And then I put pins on both sides of the bill. You want to spread the tail so it looks nice, but you don't want it spread wider than the width of the body. Try to get the tail feathers kind of spread more or less evenly. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And there's your scrub jay.